This is Age of Mythology. We're here on Xbox Series X. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is the latest in the, well, Age of series that has made its way over to the console platform. And it's quite exciting as this is a retelling, Age of Mythology Retold, a remake of that classic, basically taking Age of Empires and adding in the gods, which is kind of fun. Like, there was a period in my life when I was younger where I was essentially just sitting there going back and forth between Age of Empires 2 and Age of Mythology. It was a wondrous time, and quite a long time ago as well. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it's just genuinely quite interesting to see this game be released, as it was one of those ones where I was literally sitting there being like, wow, I would absolutely love it if they were able to bring back this entry. I remember asking developers when I was taking a look at Age of Empires 2, when they were bringing that back at like E3 many years ago. I was like, would you guys do Age of Mythology? And they were like, well, you know, we definitely have interest in doing so, but we gotta have Microsoft give the okay. And I guess somewhere along the road, Microsoft gave the okay, and now we get to bask in the glory that is Age of Mythology. So if you've played the Age of Empire games, it's pretty easy to get into this one. It's very much along the same lines in terms of gameplay mechanics, structuring, and what you're doing. And it's been tailored to the console in essentially the exact same way that the game was with the other Age of Empire games as they made their way over to the console platform. That means we've got the radial menus, we've got the easy control options, we've got easy building, a lot of stuff that's sort of like easily managed and allows you to expand and build your influence in the territory. All that sort of stuff is here available, nice and easy for you to understand, build from, and basically use, which is fantastic. So yeah, it's just kind of really awesome to be sitting here playing Age of Mythology, because it is a game that for me is a bit of a classic game from my youth, and it's quite a lot of fun. So the biggest changes from Age of Empires to Age of Mythology really come down to elements of Age of Empires is a pretty, to me, realistic experience. It's one that is firmly placed in the grounds of history, telling historic battles and historic moments. Sure, sometimes they have a bit of fun with it and they go a little wacky, lightly here or there for some of the quests, but largely Age of Empires is a very serious franchise. Age of Mythology is just fun, and honestly, since it's been so long since I did Age of Mythology and coming back to it, it's kind of a little silly too, and I think that makes it quite a lot of fun to play because it is a little ridiculous. Like, you literally get to the point in matches where you're like summoning gods out of the ground. You have like these ultimate ability things that can like wreak havoc upon your foes. You get the favor of the gods in order to become more powerful. It's really quite cool and a lot of fun. So if you've been enjoying the rebirth of basically the real-time strategy series that we've been, you know, kind of enjoying from a perspective of like not only consoles but PC as well, getting all of these games remade, touched up, filled to the brim with never-ending amounts of content, then you will sit firmly well with Age of Empires, which I think is such a treat of a series. Like, I really just love the whole franchise. The whole Age of Empires franchise is great, and Age of Mythology is just a spot where you can sit in nicely and have a great time playing it. So here on the Series X, we've got a couple different options. So you can go to the settings and you can go to the graphics. Well, it's right out the back here, or right off the bat. So you get performance or you get quality mode. So it looks like we're getting a 60 FPS target, and it just kind of determines whether you get a full 4K or a more dynamic 4K resolution here. So I did notice that in the end, like when you get to matches that are like pretty long, like these games last a long time. I do find that, like, Age of Mythology is something that doesn't take quite as... Like, these matches tend to be a lot quicker matches. They tend to go by a lot faster. They have a lot more of a quicker aggression for combat. I like to build up my base before attacking, but everybody does stuff differently, obviously. But that's a big thing, is kind of your push for how aggressive things are, the difficulty levels you play at, and everything like that. So that kind of determines your performance. Like, performance mode seems to be really, really good. Towards, like, the end of the match, where you've got most of the map revealed, people are going at it like crazy, that's when things start to get a little wild in terms of, like, there are some performance drops, and quality mode just suffers a bit more from some performance drops as time goes on in the match, but still both pretty good options. There's lots of game adjustment choices you can make, UI, sounds, accessibility stuff. You can use keyboard and mouse on your PC. There's even a DLC option, so you can have, like, the Legacy DD portrait packs. Pretty cool stuff, especially if you're a big, you know, classic Age of Mythology fan. They have a little bit of something for basically everyone that enjoys this game or has enjoyed this game over the years. And then there's online multiplayer. You can enjoy it up to 12 people going at it, having a wild time. That's another big thing too, is the fact that, like, you can have these large scale kind of matches going on, and you can choose the size of the maps too. Like, your gameplay performance is also going to be adjusted slightly based on, like, how large your map is. Like, we're playing on the large map template right now, but there are even, like, larger maps. Like, there's gigantic, and it's just basically the more stuff going on, the more stressful it is on the performance of the platform. But it was really interesting to see that they kind of gave us, you know, 2 visual setting modes. I think that in itself was a really, really great idea, as it just gives you a lot of options in regards to essentially building up your thing and building up your empire. So as I was mentioning, like, this game moves a lot faster than, like, regular Age of Empires, just in terms, like, we have standard resources and everything on, and you can change all that settings before you play. Totally up to you and how you want to set up your particular matches. But yeah, it's kind of a big thing in this one where you're kind of scaling units quicker, you're using favor. So, like, you have your food, you got your wood, you got your gold, and then you have favor of your god. And your favor allows you to, like, unleash things, or it allows you to build certain structures, or a Titan Gate where you can unleash a Titan upon your enemies, which is pretty spectacular if you're into that kind of thing. Which I imagine quite a lot of people will be into, is the whole building up a bit of you know, forces and stuff like that in order to, like, battle with others. Like, the game is a lot more, like, favorable in terms of getting, like, military structuring and that going, as the idea is to scale up your forces a lot more. You'll also notice that the way you sort of command your units to collect various resources is done in a way that is also a lot quicker in design. Like, you get a lot of, I guess you would say, like, your villagers a lot faster and stuff like that. You, like, in terms of just, like, getting them to do stuff, it's really, really quite intensive. I also noticed, I think it's a glitch. I had one match where I was basically creating unlimited settlers and it wasn't costing me anything. And that was, like, all my different, because I had a bunch of community center areas. Community centers, sorry, that makes it sound so silly. I had all these village centers, and all these village centers were essentially, like, all outputting settlers at the same time. So I don't know if that glitch is something that's going to be regularly for people or something like that, but it was kind of a funny thing that sort of happened to me when I was playing, and I wanted to highlight that. Also, for my review, instead of just showing you an action-packed thing, I actually like to show you the progression of building, because then people that haven't played this before can actually get an idea of, like, how you advance and how you actually go and do stuff in this game, because it is a little bit different from the other Age of Empire games. It's just a little bit of a curveball if you're coming from Age of Empires 2 and Age of Empires 4, which were obviously pretty recent entries in this series. It's just there is a little bit more to this one in terms of, like, building and structures and stuff like that, and it's a little bit less of defense sort of things and more about like getting a rampaging army of the gods going. That's kind of a big focus in this one, which I quite like. So we need 800 food. We better get a food in, you know what I'm saying? And then you just get to use like ridiculous, like powerful things. And each of the gods, they have different stuff too. So like our favor is like a settlement kind of like structurally generating kind of things, whereas like other ones will get for like using your temple, and there's different ways to sort of generate favor, and then you use that favor to get your abilities and stuff, and unleashing your abilities upon any poor souls that kind of get your way. But it's kind of like a rush. Like you could do attacks, like you could go and you could attack better, but it is sort of rush to build up your stuff to get to the point where you get some more fun structuring going is kind of what I would call it, where you're building up your abilities to be able to do crazier things. It really is quite intense. And as I mentioned, you can like sort of set up your structuring to be a lot deadlier too. One really interesting thing for this one though is the fact that like when you are kind of playing this game, there are a lot more limits in terms of like buildings. So you can only build like X amount of, you know, certain buildings and stuff like that, which will cap your strategies to some degree, which is also really interesting if you are doing certain like pushes for strategies or things. Like basically what you choose to do in previous Age of Empire games will not necessarily be reflected as something that you can pull off in this one, or not to the same effect that you could when you were playing those other Age of Empire games, just because the gameplay mechanics are focused on being a little bit different, which in itself is really, really quite fascinating to me. And then every age you get to kind of pick between your like gods that you worship and stuff, and it really is quite fascinating. Like honestly, I know I say that a bunch, but it is really, really quite different and interesting to me, as it is something that is so wildly unique from the other Age of Empires games, just because it is mythology, and it all handles very, very well and clean. I love what they've done with the mouse and keyboard sort of thing. This is where I was mentioning, it seems like that glitch also works here, where it just kind of keeps like pumping out villagers that you're not even choosing to build, which is kind of funny. I would also say it's interesting from a perspective of like your it very much has all the little funny little bug type things that you would get in Age of Empires 2, where it's sort of like a little overly sensitive to like snapping to characters, and you know, it's basically it's like all the same style of the controller from the other games. They've just sort of put it into this one, and it works well. It does. Like to me, they've sort of nailed the whole design of this, where it's kind of like, this is how you build up your empires in this one. This is how you manage your controller style. And I really like this game. And I mean, I've been talking about it for quite a long time here today, but I haven't even talked about like some of the other stuff. So like the actual like modes and smaller things here, really you built an obelisk right there beside where my stuff is. Like that's really peaching upon my territory there. We're gonna have to start building some higher tier. We're not there yet. We're getting to the fun age soon, where I start building up some more intensive military type structures in a sec here. But yeah, it's like I play skirmish mode when I play these games. I know other people, maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just like a gameplay mechanic. I'm just trying to remember, because there's all these like little tiny small elements of like these games that are like, and different factions and what they do that always kind of get forgotten over time. But you see how this one's building, and then at the same time we get like stuff over there in its own pace. It's kind of weird. Kind of a little bit weird. There's also like elements of not just the skirmish mode. So skirmish is just quick setup. You set your rules, you set the way you play the game, you choose like how fast it is, you choose how you get resources, you make all of these different picks in order to like manage the way you want to like play the game and everything like that. And that's totally up to you and the decisions you set up. And skirmish mode is just quick, it's fun, it's got a good amount of action to it. Like I said, it's kind of the way that I prefer to play these types of games. But if you don't, there's also online multiplayer, so you can like work with people, you can work against people, you can set up all kinds of different teams. Same as like the skirmish mode, all that kind of stuff is you know, basically mirrored across the different experiences for what you want to do. And it becomes more and more of a frenzy the more you kind of like build and create, and the more stuff you have going on. Like, there is quite a lot to this game in terms of like managing your ages and building forward, and yeah, there's a lot going on in this game. It is pretty filled with depth and things going on for sure, which is wild. And then there's the campaigns. So there's it's like a 50 missions campaign setup, and I'm sure they're gonna add bountiful amounts of like DLC and whatnot over time, as that is something they always do for these modern Age of Empires, Age of Mythology games. They just like pump out the content. And as a fan of the series, I absolutely love that. That there's always something like new to dive into and play. I don't really do a good job of keeping up with all the expansions and stuff like that because I usually am so busy, but for fans of the series, you are living in like probably the greatest era of Age of Empires outside of when like Age of Empires 2 and Mythology and stuff were like releasing. Just because you have such a ridiculous, steadfast selection of basically never-ending amounts of content of Age of Empires stuff to do, and it's just mind-blowingly awesome to me that we have so much available to us. Like, it is such a treat to actually have this much content, and I'm not doing a very good job of like building up certain things. I could have sworn I was supposed to get like an obelisk kind of thing that would like vaporize people with an eye of attack, but must have picked something a little different there or something like that. Just trying to think of all like there's such like levels of detail here because you got to know all the finite spots of like, hey, here's how this part works, or here's how this like era, because all the different gods have different stuff to them, so they all have like a different like focus in terms of like what they provide, and then there's other little things like map like influences and whether you build like certain structure things and stuff like that. They all kind of fit into things. Heroic age is what I'm kind of working towards. I need 1,000 food, 1,000 gold. Actually, no, aren't I working towards that right now? Anyways, doesn't matter. I digress. I'm just here building away. Wow, there's all these guys. There's just so much I'm managing right now, which is you know, experience to say the least. That is for sure. But yeah, it's just kind of a great series, and they've done such a phenomenal job of basically expanding it in exciting ways, and it doesn't seem like they're ever going to stop expanding it, which is to me really, really exciting because there's just like so much to do in the series. And then getting Age of Mythology here is just amazing to see this brought back, because I had so much fun playing this when I was younger. Like, it was legitimately such a great time playing these games. I had just so many memories playing this back in the day, the Mythic Age. So we need to get a Titan Gate. So we need a lot more favor with the gods, and you do that with like temple expansion stuff, like, or building centers expansion stuff. There's just a lot going on. There is a lot that I am kind of managing and attempting to build and rate and stuff like that. It's just, yeah, lots and lots going on. That's the fun of real-time strategy games. It's just like a never-ending onslaught of like activities and fun things that you're working towards, which I love the design of. Like, it's great. Always keeps you busy, always keeps you flowing. So you get tons of story content, you get tons of gameplay content. There's the narrative stuff where you're doing like actual campaigns and you're building and you're expanding. There's skirmish modes which you can endlessly play like over and over and over again, and you have just such an amazing time doing that, which I absolutely love. And the game just really is filled to the brim, at least I think, with expansive amounts of like content, activities. They nailed bringing this back. I'm very happy with it. It feels right on par with the excitement that we got from seeing the other Age of Empires games return. And I hope that I kind of gave you an idea of things and a little like showed off the game and what it has to offer for you, so you get an idea of like what it is. What you're able to build. The wolves are attacking. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. See if we can make them fight each other, which is awesome. But Age of Mythology is great. Looks great, plays well. It's awesome.